For those of you that missed this week's episode of the Shadowspark Chronicles, here's what's happening. While the group rests for the night, Gwynton decides to go to the temple to get advice on what he should do about choosing who should get the one cure. In his heart, he wants Hugh to be chosen, but struggles with the fact that Bishop's adopted niece is only 5 years old and still has so much to experience. The High Priest is not as helpful as Gwynton would have liked, and he proceeds back to Hugh's house. Oz leaves the house shortly after Gwynton to retrieve some weapons from the blacksmith. Jade and Marslin awake to an empty house and are confused that everyone seems to have disappeared. Marslin opens the door to find Bishop standing in the street waiting for him. The trio leave a note for Oz and Gwynton, very meticulously mapped out by Marslin, and head out to seek Deacon for transportation back to Briarfork. After some provocative teasing from one Madame Eustace, which made Marslin very uncomfortable, Deacon appears and agrees to take the group back the next morning. On their way home, Marslin wants to stop by an acquaintance's shop for a quick chat. Good old Runkley Stoneheart gets very excited seeing Bishop and begins examining the giant curiosity that's walked through his door. He states that he has read about things like him before, but has never actually seen one. Bishop is intrigued to hear what Runkley has to say, but grows angry when he pushes that he wants to purchase him. Bishop's eyes flash red, and he excuses himself and heads outside. The group comes together back at Hugh's house, and Bishop informs them that transportation has been arranged, and since there is time to burn, they should seek out Restus Firesoul to see what information his men got out of the creepy basement dweller, Victor Lathan. Once they arrive at the Beggar's Market, it takes the group only a little bit of time to find Restus. They find him in good spirits, and he tells them that Victor is completely mad. He keeps babbling about the end of the world, something called the Fading, and that the Shadowsparks are the saviors of the world. He apparently comes from a town called Smyrna, which is south of Candor's Keep, and something about a cold iron assembly. Bishop asks Restus to mention a book called The Studies of Life and Death, and Restus agrees and then makes the group an offer on the Shadowsparks family home. The group tells him they will certainly take it under consideration, but they need a little bit of time before making such a large purchase. As the group does some shopping and heads to dinner, Bishop heads back to Hugh's home to think about what Runkley said to him. As he sits in front of Hugh's house, he is struck by another vision, one more disturbing than his first. Blackness, then fire, then screams in the dark. Dead bodies of innocents. Bishop looks down and sees his hands covered in blood. The vision ends as the rest of the group return from dinner, and a discussion is had, and most of the group decide that it's probably a pretty good idea to purchase the Shadowspark Manor. Might be a good base of operations for the crew. Gwynton states that he will stay at Hugh's home as someone will need to help him when he returns, and then they all fall asleep. After his meditation, Oz goes outside to speak to Bishop. A discussion is had about giving Hugh a merciful end, and Bishop agrees, but informs Oz that he would only be willing to do so under Gwynton's blessing. Oz then proceeds to wake Gwynton up and takes him outside. Hearing what Oz and Bishop propose, Gwynton is most certainly not on board, and someone angrily tells them that he will not be killing Hugh, and that he has faith that things will find a way. He excuses himself and goes back to bed, and then the next morning the group assembles in Beggar's Market and meets up with Deacon. They run Restus down to inform him that they will purchase the Shadowkeep Manor. As they travel towards Briarfork, Deacon informs the group that the roads have become dangerous, as now there are people from the forest stopping travelers in the middle of their tracks. Seems these individuals are looking for something or someone. Please join us every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we continue with the adventure of the Shadowspark Chronicles. And as always, we will see you in the dungeon. They find Restus in good spirits and tell them that that's not a sentence.